talking hardball, the bull and the better. Talking hardball, part of Betting Weekly. Handicappers, they're all in the know. Pick some winners and then we say let's go. So come on, it's time to watch the show. We're talking hardball. Ken Griffey's grotesquely swollen jaw. We're talking hardball.
Live, yes indeed, on a Tuesday afternoon. It is 2 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what time it is where all of you are, but you never know. I mean, you could be watching from Timbuktu. I don't know where you hear the expression from, between here and Timbuktu or whatever. I don't know if that's actually an expression, but where is Timbuktu? Doug, you look like you would know where Timbuktu is. Do you have any idea? Is that a real place?
I've heard the expression.
Yeah.
I do not know where it is. I could maybe foster a couple guesses. I always heard with our business, it's moving around. I always heard East Jesus. I was like, you got to start your career in East Jesus. And that was always, I just felt Midwest there.
Yeah. That's true.
But
I just looked it up. Timbuktu.
That's an oldie but goodie. It's a good oldie but goodie there. Good pull.
Timbuktu is an ancient city in Mali situated north of the Niger River. I have no idea. I don't know why I'm going down this rant. It is Betting Weekly Hardball. Forget Timbuktu. Let's talk about Timbuk winning baseball bets. And that's exactly what you guys did yesterday. A 2-0 day on Monday for Betting Weekly Hardball, including one of the most improbable betting wins of all time, Doug.
Cash the same. Albert yesterday had the over in the Mariners D-backs game, over 9. There were some 9.5s out there, but Bet Rivers had 9 minus 124 at the time of our show yesterday, and 4-0 in the 9th. Mariners get a 4 spot in that 9th inning of the top half to get a guarantee, at least a push. And just obviously that's impressive in and of itself, right? And It was a lot of like hits, and then a 2-run shot to tie it. And then in the 11th, so neither team scores in the 10th with the ghost runner. 11th, Seattle has a runner on third, one out, doesn't get it home. So the Mariners resume their scoreless ways in the 10th and the 11th. And then Arizona, you get the runner on second, strikeout, walk Corby Carroll, and then one of those kind of things. And then it's bases loaded, 1 out, and Naylor goes yard for the grand slam, 8-4. And you get the over 9, not even a lucky push. You get the really lucky win.
And by the way, first of all, that's one of the craziest wins. You can't say it's the craziest win ever because there's, every couple of weeks you get a crazy win.
Baseball. Right. It's baseball too.
It is. But the guy with the home run for the Mariners just to tie it, send it, to the bottom of the ninth, Dominic Canzone, had just gotten called up from the minors yesterday. He had spent almost the entire season in the minors. It was his first home run of the year because I think he played 1 or 2 games before getting sent down earlier in the season. So an unlikely home run hitter, against now the Diamondbacks' pen hasn't been very good, but still an unlikely home run hitter. And then Josh Naylor hitting the walk-off grand slam, which was pretty crazy.
I mean, I almost think the next 5 scoreless half innings or whatever it was is almost more impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Next 6 half score, with the ghost runner. And the funny thing, then I had a rocking chair win early in the night. I had Chris Sale over 17.5 outs, so I just needed him to go through 6. He goes 7, even with 11 strikeouts. He had over 100 pitches. So just, the workhorse guy continues. And it's really good to see him after, those injuries and stuff, just to be back to kind of his vintage self.
By the way, did you see the catch that Denzel Clark made for Oakland yesterday?
Incredible. My buddy had the Angels money line, and we talked about it on the show, just thinking Kikuchi's unreliable.
Yeah.
And Kikuchi pitched great ultimately, but I was keeping an eye on things, right? The other night games were more interesting, but I was keeping an eye on things. And then, of course, social media had it. It's incredible. It really is incredible. And he almost kind of hit it when he came back. You just gave a fist bump, and then you realized he caught it.
And the thing is, for those if you haven't seen it, and I guess, 15 minutes ago when I first popped on here, I could have asked the guys to play it. I don't even know if we can, but If you haven't seen it, Google, YouTube. Wait till the show's over, but then go Denzel Clark catch. He's a rookie center fielder for Oakland. Well, not Oakland, but the Athletics. He almost fell over the fence too. I mean, he jumped the fence, grabbed it with one hand, went well above it to catch it, and then kind of started tipping towards the other side of the fence, and then he steadied himself. And as you said, he lands, and you're not even sure if he caught it at first. That was one of the greatest catches I've ever seen.
What's the rule on that if he fell over?
It's a good question. I believe he is still out. It's an out. I believe.
I think so too.
I should double check that. And so that's happened, I think, at Fenway Park. With that the short porch. Well, not so short, but the fence
around
is short.
Around Penske, yeah.
Yeah, so that's anyway, it's fascinating. All right, a lot of games to get to here on Betting Weekly Hardball. Make sure you sign up for the Betting Weekly Studios newsletter at bettingweeklystudios.com for all your Betting Weekly Studios shows, including this one. And for weekly betting tips, soccer previews, tennis brackets, breakdowns, and a whole lot more, check out bettingweeklystudios.com. Betting Weekly Fast Break, Doug's other show that he hosts, will be coming your way at 3 o'clock Eastern. So NBA talk later on that one, including looking ahead to Game 3 of the NBA Finals. But let's get to some of the marquee games of the day. Doug, let's start with the Dodgers and the Padres. This is obviously a heated rivalry between these two teams. In the standings right now, the Dodgers have a 1.5 lead over San Francisco, 2 over San Diego, in what is the best division in baseball, even with the Rockies being the worst team in baseball. But the top of this division, obviously fantastic, with the Giants playing really well also. But Dodgers, Padres tonight, what are you looking at here?
So we saw the offenses break out yesterday, even though we thought we were going to have a pitcher's duel with Dylan Cease going for San Diego. Nick Pivetta going for San Diego, and then Dustin May going for the Dodgers. And the bats broke out, and then LA stole a game. And then some of the comments, I'm a Dodger fan, reading some of the comments on the beat writers and the guys who follow this team closely. Dodgers saying they were the best team that they faced all postseason last year. They stole one on the road last year. Everyone sort of thought the Dodgers were going to be eliminated by this Padres team, and LA really bounced back, got a great pitching performance in the postseason, and Darvish sort of wet the bed. But Cease goes tonight. We're not sure about who's going to go for the Dodgers. I would bet the Padres are pass here. Dodgers bats woke up, but it's still not something that I am running to the window to be confident in. The top of the lineup we know is excellent for the Dodgers, but unless this catapults them, we talked about maybe the Red Sox getting hot after a nice series against the Yankees. Like maybe they get hot, and sometimes teams get hot when the weather gets hot. I don't know if that's the Dodgers just yet. So Price is right, though. When you can get the Dodgers this low, you almost have to kind of pounce. But if there's a team that could be better than them today, it's the Padres, right? You have a more established pitcher going. You don't know what you're going to go with the Dodgers. Is it a bullpen game or whatnot? And it's a cheap price. Obviously, 8 feels low given what we saw yesterday. And it's not like Cease is, some flamethrower ace, and then who knows what the Dodgers are trotting out there. So I'd look at the over before anything. Just, kind of a lean, but it's a hard lean to the over, but nothing more. I'm just a little gun shy here. For me, anyone who kind of has watched this show or followed my career or anything, I usually like to bet on sort of like bully ball or something that really doesn't make sense. I'm not a guy who's going to make like 9 bets on a card on a Tuesday in baseball. If I were, I'd probably bet the Padres at this price, or I would bet the over, just like, oh, it's line value. My internal model, if you will, has this number 9 or something. I feel like the total's way off. No need to get involved. You really got to be careful. I'm very judicious and frugal with my wagers when it comes to baseball and really anything. You got to be careful. Stuff can get away from you. Although we broke down so many games yesterday, Albert and I swear we were right on like 9 of the 10.
If I had to bet anything in this game, it would be the over. Dylan Cease has been extremely mediocre this season. I'd say he's been a bit of a disappointment. I mean,
the kids would call him mid, right?
Yes. His last 3 starts, he's gone 14 and 2/3, allowed 9 runs, 18 hits, 5 walks. He'll always get you strikeouts, but he has allowed a lot of base runners. And he just hasn't been that dominant starter. Interestingly, the last time he faced the Dodgers was, of course, in the playoffs last year. He hasn't pitched against them yet this season. He got smoked in those 2 appearances in the playoffs. Does that mean anything right now? Well, I guess we'll see. But I think he pitched 5 innings, gave up like 8 runs in the playoffs against the Dodgers. So, I think there'll be a decent amount of runs scored this game. So I understand the stay away, but I'm not against going over in this game. But I'd be hesitant to pick either team. I don't feel confident on either side in terms of picking one of the teams to win over the other.
I mean, for all we know, the guy the Dodgers are going to trot out is going to pitch better than Cease. So
Yeah, that's true.
why, But I'd feel a little bit more stay. And Padres should have a bounce back game.
You would think. Yeah, you
You
would
would
think.
think, right?
Let's go to the game number 2 on the docket. Cubs and Phillies. Wild opener here. The Cubs had a 1-0 lead yesterday in Philly. The Phils scored 2 runs to take the lead. The Cubs tie it, I believe, in the 8th. Yeah, when Ian Happ hit a home run off Matt Strahm. Then neither team scores in the 10th, like we saw in the Arizona game. Top of the 11th, Cubs score a run. They had a runner on third with 1 out, can't get the second run in, and then the Phillies scored 2 in the bottom of the 11th to win it 4-3. And in what was a good pitching matchup, both pitchers, Matthew Boyd and Zach Wheeler, yesterday pitched well. Today, the game starts at 6:45 Eastern. Colin Ray, who's a journeyman, but he's pitched pretty well for the Cubs, 4-2 with a 3.59 ERA. Prospect Mick Abel getting the call up for Philadelphia. He has pitched well. He's had 2 spot starts, one in May and then one 6 days ago. 11 and a third innings so far, 8 hits, no walks, 11 strikeouts, and just 1 run. So obviously the Cubs lineup better than Toronto and Pittsburgh, but the Cubs lineup has been a little cold lately, and Abel's looked good so far for Philadelphia. What are you thinking in this one?
This is a pass for me. I'm mad I didn't pull the trigger on Wheeler yesterday. I was just a little uneasy coming off the injury, the back, and then we saw on the chat. I think during our show saying someone he also he had a child, so that was part of the layoff as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like. I mean, look, Abel looks pretty solid. 2 starts, right? And you mentioned the Cubs lineup being a little cool right now. So for me, buck 17, it's got to be Phillies or pass. And they were in a funk, right? So it was good
Yeah.
to see them, for their sake, get off the schneid at least for 1 game. So they
I
got
didn't
swept
enjoy
by
seeing that, Doug. I didn't enjoy seeing that at all.
I know
Yeah.
you're a Cubbies fan, but they got swept by Pittsburgh. So to see
Yeah.
them get back on track, again, you can't overreact to your last game, but at least it's not a long losing streak, although the Braves certainly ended theirs in emphatic fashion yesterday. I like the Phillies here. What do you make of the Cubs starter here?
Colin Ray's interesting.
Yeah, he's a little erratic.
Because I don't trust him at all. For the most part, he's pitched well, though. His last start was really good against Washington. He had back-to-back terrible starts against Cincinnati. And before that, he pitched pretty well, but it was against the White Sox and the Marlins. So when he's faced bad lineups, White Sox, Marlins, Washington, he's pitched really well. Cincinnati, okay lineup, got smoked. He struggled against San Francisco, another good lineup, and again pitched well against Pittsburgh. Now, one of his first starts this year was against Philadelphia. It was at Wrigley Field. He pitched 5 shutout innings, 5 base runners, 7 Ks. But overall, he has struggled against good lineups. The Phillies are weird, though, right now. They're struggling to score. Harper on the injured list. Obviously, you're going to be careful with Schwarber because he's their most dangerous hitter at the moment. But this normally Phillies good lineup, it doesn't scare you that much at the moment, but I don't love them. I agree it's Phillies or stay away. I wouldn't bet on the Cubs here. I don't trust Ray enough. The Cubs pen, which sucked for most of the year, has actually been very good. Last night was the first time they gave up some runs. They've actually had going into last night, I think they had the best ERA bullpen ERA of the last month, which is shocking because they were terrible early. But the Cubs have gotten a little cold. PCA has been good and Kyle Tucker's been good, but a lot of their other guys have really cooled off.
What do you make of PCA MVP stuff?
Well, I mean, listen, obviously it's a long way to go, but
Sure.
as good as Ohtani has been, to me, if I'm voting right now, and you could say I'm biased, I am voting him the MVP. I don't
First
I don't.
place. First place.
I mean, they're in first place, right? They got the best. Well, they had the best record in the National League. I don't know. I don't think they do anymore. But the guy is what? He's tied for eighth in homers. He's second in the league. I'm sorry, tied for third in the league in stolen bases. He is tied for third in the league in RBIs. He is probably the best defender in the league in the outfield. He's a great base runner. He's got the best WAR. Only Aaron Judge has a better WAR than Pete Crow Armstrong. It's remarkable. The guy, struggled last year offensively. It's in September he kind of put it together, and he has just exploded this year. They got him from the Mets for Javi Baez, who the Mets had for 2 months. So quite a steal. But, yeah, I mean, if the season ended today, to me, he's the MVP. But the season doesn't end today, so obviously we got a long way to go.
And Tony's not pitching, so
Right.
some of that
So you're
lure
not-
and competitive advantage in the MVP voting is not there.
Right, exactly. And Ohtani, he's not stealing bases like he did last year, and obviously he doesn't play. I don't know how much they factor in fielding, but if nothing else in an MVP vote, that could be a tiebreaker. So, it's
He went to my high school, so I'm always rooting for him.
it's a pretty
Bragging rights.
he's really the town's in love with him. I mean, I can tell you that. He's plus 1,500. Like Shohei Ohtani's minus 305. Pete Crow Armstrong's plus 1,500. Now, obviously, Shohei Ohtani is way more likely to keep up his great play than Pete Crow Armstrong. But at plus 1,500, for the guy who you could argue should be the MVP right now, it's not bad. I would consider throwing a few ducats on that.
Right. I don't know, 15-1. I'd be okay at that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hate it. You gotta at that point, you have to almost look at the Cubs to win the division odds, right?
Right.
I mean, it's not mandatory, but they're minus 400.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I wouldn't lay that.
Sure.
I'd much rather have now. Obviously, the Cubs can win the division. He doesn't get MVP, but
Right.
I'd rather have that split in favor. Minus 400 at Bet Rivers. That feels a little rich, considering the Cardinals are lurking and the Brewers are playing decent ball.
Yep.
So
the Cubs are also more likely than the Brewers and the Cardinals to make a splash at the trade deadline. Maybe
Point.
that factors into that as well. So we'll see. All right, let's go on to the next game. Yankees at the Royals. Max Fried, speaking of awards, obviously he would certainly be in the mix right now for the Cy Young.
Also
Yeah.
went to my high school.
Oh, Max Fried and PCA went to the same high school?
Yeah, so the different
Wow.
years, so separated by several years, but
Yeah.
Fried was on the same high school staff that was Fried, Giolito, and Flaherty. And I'm sure you've seen those
Wow. That's right. I forgot about that.
articles or whatever. They were all like two
Damn.
of them were the same class, and then I think Fried was 2 years younger or something.
What are
like
they
that.
feeding the kids at this school here? I mean, my
Yeah,
God.
and we were like 0-18 in league play when I was there. So they turned around the program a little bit.
Did you play baseball?
I did until junior year,
Yeah.
and then I had to focus on one sport and stuff.
Yeah.
But my buddies did, and we've laughed about it since.
That's
I
funny.
guess there was like an alumni game. My buddy went to it just when these guys were seniors or whatever. The staff, he's like, dude, there's guys throwing like 100.
That's crazy.
So they had a good laugh about everything back then.
Sure, I bet. After all this, with the success those guys were having, Max Fried enters the game 8-1 with a 1.78 ERA for the Royals in this one. Doug, Noah Cameron,
Yeah, my guy.
he's pitched great. You gonna
I
go
love
with
him. Remember we had him last week. Now the game got rained out. It was first 5 under.
Right.
Now they end up in the rain delay, the doubleheader the next day. They got out of a lot of jams, so I'm a little uneasy. I wonder if he can be coming back to earth. He got a bases loaded, one out, double play ball, things like that. Yankees three-way line, so minus a half on the first five would be minus 148 at Bet Rivers. It's a little rich because if Cameron pitches well, I like it. I'm looking at the first five under
Yeah.
at 4.5, minus 148. That's a little too rich.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I will play first three innings.
Ah,
Okay.
what do we
First time
got?
through the lineup,
Yeah.
under 2.5, minus 137. So I'll do that.
Okay. I'm thinking about betting on the Royals here at plus 170.
I loved
Uh,
what Freed did in his bounce back game. Obviously he got
right.
touched up by the Dodgers on that Friday night in LA. Sorry, in the Bronx, I believe. And then um came back and pitched great in his last game. And we were on him. I think we had him in the show against Cleveland.
Right.
He only gave one hit in 6 innings. Man, he's he's gonna have regression, one would think, but I'm gonna keep riding this like secretariat.
Would you consider let me throw something at you here. Would you consider the Royals at minus 150 plus 2.5 runs?
No, because I think the dam might break with Cameron,
That's fair.
but I don't love the Yankees lineup. So that's why I'm on under for both teams, right?
Right.
In the first 3 innings, under 2.5. Now, look, if you pitch to Judge and he goes yard like he did against the Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball, Oppo for
Yeah.
2-run shot, so be it. But I really think both pitchers are strong. I'm just a little apprehensive about Cameron getting touched up
All
just
right.
because he was in some trouble in his last game.
All right, fair. And obviously he's a
I like
lefty
your
and
thinking though, minus 2.5, or sorry, plus 2.5. I like that
yeah.
logic.
If you go plus 1.5 runs, then it's Royals plus 105.
Right.
But I
So
kind of like,
you're ready to fade. You're ready to fade Freed, is what you're saying.
which is seems crazy.
Seems a little extreme, a little
But
gutsy.
if you
Do you
think
think
it's
this
gonna,
progression's coming?
but if you think it's gonna be a low scoring game, but I guess if you think about low scoring game, then you might as well just go what you're doing first 3 innings under 2.5 runs.
So yeah, so that was my question. I mean,
Yeah.
Freed's got a microscopic ERA. Do you think he's? I mean, he hasn't. This guy isn't Chris Sale. This guy isn't Degrom. So, do you think that reality is going to set in at some point, and he's got to start giving up some hits and runs?
I mean the Royals lineup hasn't been particularly good this season, but yes, I do. Max Fried's been amazing. I thought he'd be good with the Yankees, but I did not. I mean, nobody could have thought he'd be this good. To have a 178. I mean, he's only given up 58 hits in 81 innings. He and Carlos Rodon have combined to allow 108 hits in 166 innings. I mean, neither of those is sustainable in my mind. So I think Max Fried is due some regression. Again, I'm not expecting him to be terrible, but I mean, he's been outside of 2 starts, his first start against the Brewers, and there was a lot of unearned runs, and obviously that start against the Dodgers, he's been lights out. But
The Red Sox got you, Rodon.
yeah, they did. I'll be honest, it's more of just a hunch that the Royals are going to keep this game close. They might win. So I'm thinking maybe the Royals plus 105 at plus 1.5 runs might be the way to go.
Sunday Night Baseball is a good example because Rodon was on the bump, and
Yeah.
I just don't think the Yankees lineup gives me a lot of confidence. Now they end up scoring a bunch of runs, and Rodon got touched up. But even when Judge went yard, it's like, okay, it's 2-0. I don't know if the Yanks are going to score again. Um, this offense just leaves a lot to be desired. We touched on it this time last week with Cleveland. in the
Yeah.
Bronx, and there were some under games, right? They got blanked, I believe, in game 2
Yeah.
to the Yanks offense. I love Goldschmidt over the years, obviously, and he's playing well this year. Judge, he's awesome. But they're just there's always something like
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they heat up at some point, and they're getting it done. So give them all the credit
Yeah.
in the world. I mean, what they're doing with that pitching, like you mentioned, Rodon and Freed,
Yeah.
they're 14 games above 500, but it's not necessarily. It's just timely pitching and the offense. We'll see what happens with Weaver out. I think under's the way to go, but I'd be careful betting on the Royals because I do think if the under gets away from us, it's going to be Cameron.
Could be. Uh, just out today, Betting Weekly game bet match with Nigel Seeley and Sean Calvert discussing ATB Stuttgart round of 16, start of the grass court season. So check that out if you're a tennis bettor. For you baseball bettors, you could send us a message in the YouTube chat here. If you have any questions, you have any comments, you want to give us your plays for today, you want our opinions on your plays, throw it in the YouTube chat. All right, let's get to the next game. Giants at the Rockies. Mentioned the Dodgers, Padres. The other team battling at the top of the West is the Giants. Rockies have, had that big 3-game winning streak, and now Colorado since then has lost 3 in a row. So their winning ways did not last for long. They are 12-53, trying to get back to 40 games under 500 tonight. The pitching matchup in this one in Colorado, 8:40 Eastern. Kyle Harrison will go for the Giants. And for the Rockies, it's Carson Palmquist, who has an 8.50 ERA and a 183 whip, both horrible numbers. So what do you make of this one, Doug?
Yeah, so the Rockies got cooled off after the
Yeah.
sweep in Miami.
Yep.
Mets, I think, swept them. And Palmquist goes. He's the guy who got called up. We've touched on him in a previous show. He was a guy who got called up, didn't have great numbers. He has a different arm slot angle, and he has not kept batters off balance at all.
Nope.
So the Rockies, so the Giants batters should eat. The problem is Harrison going for San Francisco. And Harrison, I should say, and not a guy you want to go to battle with, and laying a run line minus $1.59, not something that really entices me. But the Rockies are that bad. I would look at a Giants team total, but man, these things get up there. That's quite a high number when you have a game total that's 11.5. A Giants team total 6.5. And it's minus 125 on the over. I mean, Palmquist can get rocked, give up 5 and I don't know, 5 innings, and then the Giants only scratch another run and win 6-3 or something like that. So I think the price is right, 240. I think it's probably a little cheap, but the run line price is right at minus 159. 240s probably has value, all things considered, with Palmquist and stuff. With a road team like this, one thing I would look at is on the Bet Rivers app, and I'm going to get to it in another game, but you can get some props. First team to score 4 runs or something like that. It's 3-way. So if it's a 3-2 final, like the Rockies had twice in Miami, is the one, then the tie is the key, right? So nobody gets to that. But in Coors Field and these pitchers, I think we're going to see some runs. So I kind of lean. So the team total was 6.5 over minus 125, right? But you can bet the Giants first to 5 runs minus 186. So somebody has to get 5 runs. So it's a 3-way line. You don't get your money back if the Giants win or lose 4-3 or something. But it's cheaper juice on the money line, and you get the first ups too, and you get Palmquist. So it's something that I'd be really, tempted to do. And Palmquist, you can do his under strikeouts, under 3.5, minus 112. I mean, the guy's not good, but he's a big lefty with a weird arm slot. Can he get guys to strike out? He had 8 against the Mets, even though he gave up a bunch. Had 4 against the Cubs, even though he gave up a bunch. But when he pitched at home, he pitched the Phillies. They only struck out twice. So keeping an eye on that. I would like to first to 5 runs. I think that's a decent play, but just a little too rich for a Giants lineup that's obviously not exactly the 27 Yankees. So it's a pass, but these are things I was thinking about when you have a road team like that and such a bad pitcher going for Colorado. I mean, frankly, they could
Yeah.
get there in the first inning.
I kind of like the Giants leading after 3 innings,
Okay.
minus 110.
Ooh, so three-way line,
Three-way
right?
line,
So it
yep.
can't be. So it's a two-way line would
Yeah,
be a push, right?
right.
You don't. This is a three-way line.
Yes.
I see that. What about the two-way line minus 167?
Uh, yeah, that makes
But you're right.
sense.
The three-way line is probably a good play with Palmquist. He's not good.
He's just so bad. And
That's a pretty good play the more I
yeah,
think about it.
I just think it's at minus 110, right? I mean, like, there's definitely a fairly significant chance, I think, that the Giants will have the lead after 3 innings.
Yeah,
So,
he's he's not good.
no. So, and again, the Giants, uh, let's see, they've won 5 in a row. They haven't scored a ton of runs, but it's actually been all 5 of their wins. They've won 5 in a row, and they were all by 1 run. In fact, the last 7 Giants games have been by 1 run.
Yeah, well, they had that nail biter series with San Diego,
Right.
right? That 4-game set that
Yep.
was just drama across the board. They came
Right.
back after being down 5-0 after they blew leads to San Diego in the first 2 games of the series, and they come back after being down 5-0 middle of the game, like around the 5th inning, and that sort of started this win streak, and then they take care of the Braves. So they're playing some good ball for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just like their chances of
I
having
like
the
where your head's
lead.
at there.
Yeah. All right. Next game. Braves at the Brewers. Braves snapped their 7-game losing streak yesterday. It's shocking to see the Braves lose 7 in a row. They had a bad streak in the beginning of the season, so I guess it shouldn't be that shocking. Brewers are 2-4 after they had won 8 straight. The game's in Milwaukee. The pitching matchup in this one for the Braves and Brewers, a 7:40 Eastern. It'll be Grant Holmes for the Braves, who's been okay, and for the Brewers, it's Quinn Priester, who also has been okay. I don't love either pitcher. What do you make of this one, Doug?
Like you said with the pitchers, I can't get involved here. The
Yeah.
Braves, nice. It's good to see Acuna go yard too.
Yeah.
Nice to get off the schneid, but they're still struggling. They're 4-12, I want to say, since Acuna came back. Brewers have been scratching and clawing all season, and they were in some crazy games with the Padres as well recently. I cannot get involved in this game. Price is right, so to speak.
Yeah, I especially it's like you'd think, well, maybe if you don't love either pitcher, maybe take the over. But I don't hate either pitcher. Neither pitcher's terrible. They're
Right.
just both mid, as we used the term before. And so, yeah, I think this is a smart one to stay away from. All right, let's talk about Lucas Giolito and the Red Sox. They are in action tonight at home against the Rays. And you have a note here about Lucas Giolito's splits when it comes to Fenway versus how he's pitched on the road. And this is a crazy difference, Doug. Why don't you hit the fans with that?
Yeah, we've touched on it one couple times, and the one time we had it, I
Yeah.
think, on a show was the one time he pitched well. It was at the Orioles at home. He had 7
Yeah.
shutout innings, but outside of that, he's been absolutely hideous. And his last time out, he gave up 7 earned and only got 5 outs. So the Angels chased him out of there, and Giolito had some comments like, "I need to figure this out," blah blah blah. So it's in his head, and I don't think it's, "Oh, I then have to figure this out." Then okay, then I'm gonna just start pitching well, right? It doesn't work like that, and I appreciate the competitiveness, but with the monster, and it's not like a random city too. Like the green monster in left definitely
Yeah.
messes with pitchers' heads. So I'm going to lean into this, especially because I do like Ryan Pepio of the Rays. I don't love their offense, but they've been pretty solid. Last week we touched on the Rays, and Albert Nguyen, one of our handicappers, just touched on this team's better than you think. You look up and they get a win when you don't think they're going to. they've been a little frisky. This Rays team, and I can't. I think he said something like I can't name two of their two best hitters or whatever, but they're 6 games above 500. I'm going to isolate sort of the Pepio Giolito matchup and do the prop that we were talking about. Rays win the race to 3 runs, and Rays win the race to 4 runs. So minus
Love it.
125 for 3 runs, plus 102 for 4. You get the road team, right? So they're first ups and really isolating Giolito. We could do what we did, and you talked about with the Rockies, the 3 inning matchup, stuff
Yeah.
like that. But I really just want to bank on Giolito giving up runs. So if there was an earned run prop or something, if that gets posted later, then sure, yeah, go over on that. But I think the Rays offense gets to Giolito. So usually I do a half unit unless I say otherwise, and I'll split up the half unit. So I'll go quarter unit on each of the first to 3 runs and first to 4 runs.
As you said, the Rays may not have big, sexy names at the top of their lineup, but they got a lot of guys who are solid. It's just a lineup of, it's really a whole team of a lot of just
Yeah.
solid guys, right? A lot of teams are, studs and duds. They're the opposite of that. There's a lot of just solid guys on this team. And Giolito's last 2 starts, one at home, one on the road, both awful. He's allowed 18 base runners in his last 2 starts. That's 9 2/3 innings. So that is just hideous. He hasn't been able to get anyone out these last 2 starts, and the Rays are a scrappy bunch. And they don't strike out a ton. So I'm with you. I like the Rays.
I mean, I probably should just bet the Rays because I like
Yeah.
Pepio as well. It's rare that I'm just fading one pitcher and also happen to like the starter for the other team. But I just want to bank on runs being scored for the Rays and get him early and often. And, first to 1 or 2 runs is like not as desirable because I think it's more likely Giolito gets touched up rather than, maybe Boston scratches against Pepio. So I'll just bank on Tampa's offense getting to Giolito.
By the way, we got on YouTube the Amish farmer when talking about. I mean, if you're really an Amish farmer, you wouldn't be able to watch the show because you can't have the internet, right? If you're Amish. But he says the Royals were eliminated by the Yankees. Mark Canha, 2+ total bases of all people. Mark Canha at plus 185 with a sprinkle on him hitting a home run at plus 1,300. That would be the most random home run bet right there.
And it's max free too.
Yeah. Well, I went crazy and said they were going to win, so I guess you never know. Maserati Fox says he likes the Mets minus a 1.5. So let's jump onto that game. It's a little lower in our rundown, but we'll jump to that game. Nationals and Mets. It's a sneaky good pitching matchup in this one. Right? Mackenzie Gore, kind of under the radar because the Nationals have been so bad, but he's got a 2.87 ERA. And Griffin Canning, the Mets are not usually under the radar, but this guy, who was once a good prospect with the Angels and had been hurt for so long, he's been fantastic. I mean, he's only given up more than 3 earned runs in a game once all season and more than 3 runs, period, twice. That's it. Coming off a great start against your Dodgers, where he gave up 3 hits, a walk, no runs over 6 with 7 strikeouts in L.A. And the Mets have won 9 of the last 11 times he started. Oddly enough, one of those 2 losses was against the White Sox, but 9 of 11. So, and Gore's been great for the most part, too. I love this pitching matchup. I like the under in this one. What say you, Doug?
I would go under, if anything. I was just playing around here. Same game parlay.
Yeah.
So if you like Canning, sorry, I lied. Let me click something else.
You lied. That hurts my heart there.
It's only plus 110. Okay. So Mackenzie Gore to go 6 full innings, so over 17.5 outs is minus 118. You can make that plus 110 by adding over 5.5 strikeouts. Now that's a big juice. His two-way prop is 6.5. So he's had 7+ strikeouts in like 7 straight games, 6 straight starts or something like that. But 5.5, it's a little juicier, minus 225. He's gonna get 6 strikeouts. So that's tempting for him to go 6 innings, but it's kind of reverse correlated. Like if he's getting strikeouts, then that's high pitch count and therefore may not go that deep in the game. But I don't want to bet against. I don't like the run line here. I think alternate run line with the Nats. I think we've touched on this. would be something I'd look into because if he pitches great, you can get a really nice, um, payout there, or even just Nationals and under is plus 325.
Right.
So that's tempting
Yeah.
as well.
I I kind of like that. I mean, you mentioned Gore. If you look at just his last 3 starts, he's pitched 19 innings, allowed 1 earned run, has 24 strikeouts and 4 walks, and that's against a good Cubs lineup, a decent Mariners lineup, and a decent Giants lineup. I mean, he's done it against good teams. He's pitched well against good teams all year. 7 strikeouts, and he's still so even with those strikeouts, he's still gone at least 6 innings in 4 of his last 5 starts.
He's really good.
Yeah.
He's really, really good. I guess the Mets lineup can get to him because they have some potent bats.
Yeah.
So that would be my apprehension. But man, it's tempting because he's a really solid pitcher. All right, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do the same game parlay.
Yes.
Why not?
I like
Right.
it. I
So
like
it's
it.
plus 110. It's
Yeah.
plus 110. So we're gonna go Mackenzie Gore over 5.5 strikeouts. If you did 6.5, you get a nice payout at 155. But I'm gonna go 5.5 and then over 17.5 out. So he's got to get 6, and that's plus 110 at Bet Rivers. So I'll do that.
Doug, let's go rapid fire for the rest of the card, and we'll see if you like
Okay.
anything else. All right. 6:35 Eastern. Tigers Orioles is the start tonight. Brant Herder going for the Tigers. Cade Povich going for the Orioles. Anything there? Herder's been pretty good. It's limited action.
No, Tigers are obviously trendy. They're finally getting some respect in the betting market. And but no, Orioles are playing much better ball since firing Hyde. So not necessarily those definitely correlated, but I think they're much more. They're playing to their power rating, as we like to say.
The Reds and Guardians off the board right now. We're not sure why. I just checked with my Guardians guy. He doesn't have any info yet, but he's going to the locker room right now. Slade Cecconi supposed to pitch for Cleveland. The Guardians have struggled, lost 5 of 7. Andrew Abbott has been fantastic for Cincinnati, except his last
How do you
start where he
not
got
bet
smoked.
Cincinnati here, right? Andrew
Yeah.
Abbott, we've touched on him. We did a live bet, I believe, on the show, or a game that was starting on our watch. I love
Yep.
Abbott. I really do. I think this Reds team is much better than people realize just because they're in 4th place or whatever. But they're a respectable team. They're above 500.
Yeah.
So I have to do Reds if anything here, but it's a pass.
Battle of 2 terrible teams, Marlins and Pirates, with 2 disappointing pitchers. Sandy Alcantara has been horrible this year. Was supposed to be a big trade chip. Right now, he's been terrible. Mitch Keller's not been very good for Pittsburgh. You staying away from this one?
Alcantara's only decent outing was against Colorado. So
Yeah,
what do we
right.
make of it? I'm kicking myself for not betting the Pirates yesterday. I would bet them today if Keller wasn't the starter.
Yeah.
I can't get behind him, and the price is right. Yesterday it was like minus 114, and they had the pitching edge. Alcantara, like you said, has been terrible. Pirates playing good ball, swept the Phillies, and won 4 in a row. Lot to
Yeah.
like. I think this is the right side, but I can't at 139. At 119, I'd probably get involved, but not with Keller here.
Rangers at the Twins, 7:40 Eastern. Tyler Mahle for the Rangers. He's been very good. Simeon Woods Richardson, who was with the team earlier, just got called up today to make the start. Mahle, though, did struggle his last start, but for the most part, he's been real good this season.
Yeah, I think earlier when I said if I was betting a bunch of games, 9 games,
Yeah.
the Rangers I'd get involved here with Mahle, but not necessary here. That's a pass. I think kind of a coin flip game.
Blue Jays, Cardinals, 2 solid pitchers here. Chris Bassett, Miles Michaelis, 7:45 Eastern start. Anything there?
Yeah, Michaelis is a weird pitch. He kind of gets it done. Nothing pretty, nothing fancy.
Yeah.
But the Blue Jays are one of those teams that have been okay, and that is sort of the only side I'd consider with Bassett. But for me, it's Blue Jays or pass. But I would maybe want plus money to get involved, not a coin flip outing.
Lance McCullers pitches for Houston. His last 2 starts
Yeah.
really good. Now they are against the A's and the Pirates, so who knows? And he's going against your guy Shane Smith, who's been obviously really good for the White Sox and pitched 5 1/3 shutout innings his last time out. What do you like in that one?
So initially, I liked under 8, but it's -120, I believe, at Bet Rivers, and I think the Astros lineup's heating up. And Shane Smith's not lights out. He's
Nope.
reliable, so he's kind of feast or famine, if you will, with a stat line. So if you bet him, you kind of want to do an alternate run line or something like that because when he's on, he's on. But it's still the White Sox lineup, and I think under's going to come home because McCullers has been great. He had that 7 earned run outing and then had like
Yep.
death threats to his family and all this stuff and more investigation turned out it was like gamblers behind it. And then he's bounced back and it's really nice to see because he was out for so long with an injury. I would play under or pass, but no play for me officially here.
Athletics and Angels. Mitch Spence pitching for the Athletics. He'd been in the bullpen for most of the year. Did get a start 5 days ago, and pitched a solid game in a win against Minnesota. He'll be opposed by Jose Soriano. Not a sexy game in this one. 9:38 Eastern time start.
Yeah, I hope I don't end up watching this.
Oh,
I
that's an
want
ugly
no
one.
part of it. Soriano, like I said, there's other night games, right?
Yeah,
Soriano, he's a gas can. I mean,
yeah.
no interest here. 9 over 9 is tempting, but the Halos lineup not exactly a team I want to go to the foxhole with, needing some runs. So it'd be just a bet against each starter. The Athletics
Yeah.
offense is okay at times, even though they had the 1-20 stretch, but 9 feels right.
And finally, we started with this game last night. We end with it tonight. Mariners, Diamondbacks in Arizona. Logan Evans gets called up to make the start for Seattle. He's pitched well when he's been up this year. Brandon Pfaadt, who, had a good end to the last season, good start to this season. He has been, speaking of a gas can, he has been absolutely awful of late. His last 2 starts, 3 innings total against Washington, Atlanta, not juggernauts. 11 hits allowed, 13 earned runs, 14 total runs, and 2 strikeouts. He's been terrible. Does he bounce back in this one?
I'm not so sure. I'd play over. I think the bats might have woken up
Yeah.
last evening, and with this pitching lineup, I would look over 9.5. I do think that's a tricky outfield and tricky stadium for road pitchers. So I think the Diamondbacks offense will get going there.
And finally, Maserati Fox says something I do like tonight is the Athletics plus 1.5. They could win. Soriano isn't very good. Spence is decent. We agree on Soriano. I don't really think Spence is decent.
It's minus 157.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can get involved in an athletics game at minus 157.
And then you have to watch it. Nobody needs that. All right, Doug, before we wrap up, what's going on? Betting Weekly Fast Break coming your way in about 13 minutes.
Yeah, we have Albert Nguyen, who was on the baseball show yesterday. He's going to be on Fast Break, breaking down his favorite place for Game 3 as the series shifts to Indiana. We also have a couple interesting WNBA matchups. I know there's been sharp action in the market. Yesterday, I gave out some big plays. The market has moved in my favor on this Sky Liberty game. I'll explain to you why I still really like it. I play on the total and a team total in this game. All that coming up, much more. But we're going to dive deeper into some props for tomorrow night's Game 3.
All right. Thanks to everybody for joining us today. And thanks to Max and Z for producing. For Doug, I'm Adam. We'll see you next time tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern on Betting Weekly Hardball from the Betting Weekly Studios, part of Bet Rivers. See you, everybody.